The year was 1933, and the world was in the grip of the Great Depression. In Brooklyn, New York, a young girl named Joan Ruth Bader was born to a working-class family. Her father, Nathan, was a furrier, and her mother, Celia, worked tirelessly to support the family. From the very beginning, Ruth's life was marked by a quiet determination, a trait that would later define her as one of the most influential figures in the fight for women's rights and gender equality. Ruth's mother, Celia, was a woman ahead of her time. She believed in the power of education and instilled in her daughter the importance of independence and self-reliance. Tragically, Celia passed away from cancer the day before Ruth's high school graduation. This loss was a profound blow to Ruth, but it also fueled her resolve to honor her mother's dreams for her. She carried Celia's lessons with her as she embarked on her academic journey. Ruth excelled in school, graduating at the top of her class from James Madison High School. She then attended Cornell University, where she met Martin Ginsburg, a charming and supportive young man who would become her lifelong partner. Martin admired Ruth's intellect and ambition, and the two quickly fell in love. They married in 1954, and Ruth gave birth to their first child, Jane, shortly after. But Ruth's path was far from conventional. At a time when most women were expected to focus solely on homemaking, Ruth had bigger dreams. She enrolled at Harvard Law School in 1956, one of only 9 women in a class of over 500 men. The environment was far from welcoming. During a dinner for the female students, the dean asked them how they could justify taking a spot that could have gone to a man. Ruth, undeterred, responded with her characteristic poise and wit. "My husband is a second-year law student, and it's important for a woman to understand her husband's work." Despite the challenges, Ruth thrived academically. She became the first woman to join the prestigious Harvard Law Review. But life threw another curveball when Martin was diagnosed with testicular cancer. Ruth balanced her studies with caring for her husband and their young daughter, often typing Martin's dictated papers while he recovered. Her resilience during this time was a testament to her strength and determination. After Martin's recovery, the family moved to New York City, where Ruth transferred to Columbia Law School. She graduated tied for first in her class in 1959. Yet, even with her stellar academic record, Ruth faced blatant discrimination in the job market. Law firms were reluctant to hire a woman, especially one who was a mother. One interviewer even asked her how she would feel about earning less than her male counterparts, simply because she was a woman. Ruth's early career was marked by a series of groundbreaking firsts. She became the first woman to join the Columbia Law School faculty, and later co-founded the Women's Rights Project at the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU. Through her work at the ACLU, Ruth began to challenge the systemic discrimination against women in the legal system. She argued 6 landmark cases before the Supreme Court, winning 5 of them. Her strategy was meticulous. She chose cases that highlighted the ways in which gender discrimination harmed both men and women, demonstrating that equality was not a zero-sum game. One of her most notable cases was Reed v. Reed, 1971, where she successfully argued that an Idaho law giving preference to men over women in estate administration was unconstitutional. This marked the first time the Supreme Court struck down a law on the basis of gender discrimination, setting a precedent for future cases. Ruth's work was not just about winning cases, it was about changing minds. She believed that the law could be a powerful tool for social change, and she used it to dismantle the stereotypes that confine both men and women. Her efforts laid the groundwork for a more equitable society, one where individuals were judged not by their gender, but by their abilities. As the 1970s progressed, Ruth's reputation as a champion of gender equality grew. Her quiet, yet fierce determination earned her the nickname the Thurgood Marshall of women's rights, a nod to the legendary civil rights lawyer. But Ruth's journey was far from over. Little did she know that her fight for equality would soon take her to the highest court in the land, where she would continue to make history. By the late 1970s, Ruth Bader Ginsburg had become a formidable force in the legal world. Her work with the Women's Rights Project at the ACLU had transformed the landscape of gender equality in the United States. She had argued and won cases that struck down discriminatory laws, paving the way for a more just society. But Ruth's journey was far from over. Her brilliance, tenacity, and unwavering commitment to justice would soon lead her to the highest court in the land. In 1980, President Jimmy Carter appointed Ruth to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit. This was a significant milestone, not just for Ruth, but for women in the legal profession. At the time, Women were severely underrepresented in the judiciary, and Ruth's appointment was a step toward changing that. On the DC Circuit, she earned a reputation as a thoughtful and meticulous judge, known for her ability to build consensus among her colleagues. Her opinions were clear, well-reasoned, and grounded in a deep respect for the law. Ruth's time on the DC Circuit was marked by her commitment to fairness and equality. She approached each case with the same rigor and dedication that had defined her career. Her colleagues admired her intellect and her ability to see the broader implications of legal decisions. She was not just interpreting the law, she was shaping it in ways that would have a lasting impact on American society. 13 years later, in 1993, Ruth's life took another monumental turn. Justice Byron White announced his retirement from the Supreme Court, creating a vacancy that needed to be filled. President Bill Clinton, who was known for his commitment to diversity and inclusion, was determined to appoint a justice who would bring a fresh perspective to the bench. Ruth's name quickly rose to the top of the list. When President Clinton called Ruth to offer her the nomination, she was both honored and humbled. She knew the weight of the responsibility that came with the role, but she also saw it as an opportunity to continue her lifelong fight for equality. Her confirmation hearings before the Senate Judiciary Committee were a testament to her character and her qualifications. She spoke eloquently about her judicial philosophy, emphasizing the importance of equality, fairness, and the rule of law. She was confirmed by the Senate with a vote of 96-3, becoming the second woman ever to serve on the Supreme Court. Ruth's arrival at the Supreme Court was a historic moment. She joined Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman to serve on the court, and together they began to challenge the entrenched biases that had long shaped American law. Ruth's presence on the court was a powerful symbol of progress, but she was determined to do more than just break barriers. She wanted to use her position to make a real difference in the lives of ordinary Americans. In her early years on the court, Ruth established herself as a voice of reason and moderation. She was known for her ability to build bridges between the liberal and conservative justices, often crafting opinions that garnered broad support. But she was also unafraid to dissent when she believed the court was making a mistake. Her dissents were not just critiques, they were calls to action, urging future generations to continue the fight for justice. One of Ruth's most significant contributions during this time was her role in the landmark case United States vs. Virginia, 1996. The case challenged the male-only admissions policy at the Virginia Military Institute, VMI, a prestigious state-funded military college. Ruth wrote the majority opinion, striking down the policy and affirming that gender-based discrimination violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Her opinion was a powerful affirmation of the principle that equality under the law must apply to all, regardless of gender. Ruth's work on the Supreme Court was not limited to gender equality. She was a staunch defender of civil rights, voting rights, and reproductive rights. She believed that the Constitution was a living document, one that must evolve to meet the challenges of a changing society. Her opinions reflected a deep understanding of the law and a profound commitment to justice. But Ruth's journey was not without its challenges. In 1999, she was diagnosed with colon cancer. Despite undergoing surgery and chemotherapy, she refused to let her illness slow her down. She continued to work tirelessly, often reading briefs and drafting opinions from her hospital bed. Her resilience in the face of adversity inspired millions and cemented her status as a cultural icon. As the years passed, Ruth became known not just as a justice, but as a pop culture phenomenon. She was affectionately dubbed the Notorious R.B.G, a playful nod to the rapper the Notorious B.I.G, and a testament to her fierce determination. Young people across the country looked up to her as a role model, someone who had dedicated her life to fighting for what was right. Ruth's journey to the Supreme Court was a testament to her brilliance, her perseverance, and her unwavering commitment to justice. But her work was far from finished. As she entered the new millennium, she continued to fight for equality, leaving an indelible mark on the court and the nation. As the 21st century unfolded, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's influence on the Supreme Court and American society only grew stronger. By now, she was no longer adjusted justice. She was a cultural icon, a symbol of resilience, and a beacon of hope for those fighting for equality. Her tiny frame belied her towering presence, and her soft-spoken demeanor masked a fierce intellect and an unyielding commitment to justice. Ruth's later years on the Supreme Court were marked by a series of landmark decisions and powerful dissents. She became known for her sharp legal mind and her ability to articulate complex ideas with clarity and precision. Her opinions often reflected her deep belief in the Constitution as a living document, one that must adapt to the needs of a changing society. She was a champion of civil rights, voting rights, and reproductive rights, and she never shied away from standing up for what she believed was right. One of her most notable opinions during this time was her dissent in Ledbetter Veers Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company 2007. The case involved Lily Ledbetter, a woman who had been paid significantly less than her male colleagues for years, but only discovered the disparity near the end of her career. The majority ruled against Ledbetter, stating that she had waited too long to file her claim. Ruth's dissent was scathing. She argued that pay discrimination is often hidden and that the court's decision ignored the realities of the workplace. Her dissent was so compelling that it inspired Congress to pass the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act in 2009, the first bill President Barack Obama signed into law. Ruth's dissents became a hallmark of her tenure on the court. She believed that dissents were not just critiques of the majority opinion, but also a way to speak to future generations. Dissents speak to a future age, she once said. They are appeals to the intelligence of a future day, when a later decision may possibly correct the error into which the dissenting judge believes the court have been betrayed. Her dissents were often prophetic, laying the groundwork for future legal battles and social change. Despite her advancing age and recurring health challenges, Ruth remained a tireless advocate for justice. In 2009, she underwent surgery for pancreatic cancer, and in 2018, she fractured 3 ribs in a fall. Yet, she continued to work with the same dedication and passion that had defined her career. Her commitment to her work was unwavering, and she often joked that she would retire when I'm 110. Ruth's influence extended far beyond the courtroom. She became a pop culture phenomenon, inspiring books, documentaries, and even a feature film. Young people admired her not just for her legal acumen, but for her courage and determination. She was a role model for women and girls everywhere, proof that one person could make a difference in the fight for equality. In 2020, as the nation grappled with the COVID-19 pandemic and a deeply divided political landscape, Ruth faced her greatest challenge yet. Her health began to decline, but she remained steadfast in her commitment to the court. She knew that her presence on the bench was crucial, especially as the court prepared to hear cases that would shape the future of the country. On September 18, 2020, Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away at the age of 87. Her death was met with an outpouring of grief and gratitude from people across the country and around the world. She had spent her life fighting for justice, and her legacy would endure long after her passing. Ruth's impact on the law and on American society cannot be overstated. She was a trailblazer, a visionary, and a tireless advocate for equality. Her work transformed the legal landscape, dismantling barriers and opening doors for generations to come. She showed us that change is possible, even in the face of overwhelming odds, and that the fight for justice is never truly over. As we reflect on Ruth Bader Ginsburg's life and legacy, we are reminded of the power of perseverance, the importance of standing up for what is right, and the enduring impact of one person's commitment to justice. Her story is not just a chapter in the history of the Supreme Court, it is a testament to the power of hope, courage, and determination. Ruth Bader Ginsburg may be gone, but her legacy lives on. She taught us that real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time. And as we continue the fight for equality, we carry her spirit with us, inspired by her example and guided by her unwavering belief in the promise of a more just and equitable world.